Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How is everybody? Good. Sort of. Maybe, maybe not. Why don't we begin this morning with a reading from Whispers from Eternity. It is Yogananda's, he said it was one of the scriptures that he was born for. It is his book of prayer demands and poems. He said, do not go to the divine as a beggar, but go as the awareness of being a child of the divine and demand of spirit your divine birthright. Dance in me the dance of infinity. O Mother Divine, I have learned to love thy dance of destruction, for I see now that what is destroyed is my own ignorance and folly. Thou hast shattered again and again with thy war dance of destruction my fragile cage of bones and flesh and consigned it to crematory flames. Thou hast done so smilingly to show me and everyone that our souls are forever free and cannot be burned or broken. With thy mercy thou hast stripped away, sometimes seemingly with harshness, but always with loving purpose, the countless hardened, mud-encrusted covers of delusion that coated us. I appreciate now thy dance of devastation, Mother. Together, let us cremate my every desire, frailty, weakness, and finitude, forever and ever. I'll join thee laughing in thy dance of evil's destruction. O Mother, since nothing more is left now of my finiteness for thee to destroy, dance in me thy dance of infinity and of cosmic love. This season is a beautiful and tender season because it speaks of promise. The image of the Christ child is fraught with tenderness and softness. And, the songs are about the hush of silence and stillness. And it speaks to us outwardly, and it's in the hush of winter that the season is celebrated. But it's allegorical, it's symbolic of what happens inside, the presence of Christ, the presence of the awakening spirit, that eternal, immortal presence begins to awaken within us in the hush of often our own wintertime, in the hush of when our lives have been, outer lives have been destroyed, some dream of life or even life itself is being threatened and damaged. And we find ourselves with no place to stand, and we turn finally, after ranting and raving and pushing back and trying to make it all work, we find ourselves inward. And it's in that inwardness, it's in that quiet inside that something else is born, the possibility of a deeper and more profound understanding. This process, Yogananda said, he used the word evolution, but he was talking about the evolution of awareness, the increasing expansion of perception, which is what all growth and maturity is just increasing awareness of what's already there. He said it goes on endlessly until endlessness is reached. This is no small and timid project that we take on when we take on yearning for the presence of God. It is infinite, it's eternal, it's enormous. It's cute. Some folks were talking about their own immortality, and one man was talking about wanting to do it through his art, and another through dance, another through concept and stuff. And Yogananda even went as far as to say, immortalize your dreams in architecture. But Woody Allen observed that he really didn't want to achieve immortality through his work. He wanted to achieve immortality through not dying. Which is where most of us would land if we were asked. I'd just as soon not go through that process. But it's funny how many of us yearn for immortality but don't know what to do with a free hour of time. We find ourselves just at our own wits' end, just wondering what we're going to do next. It's because we have inside of us the knowledge that we are, in fact, immortal, and that in deep and profound stillness is our real home. All of the path is to help us remember what's always been true, that light is our truth, joy is our reality, the power of Spirit is our own, and that there are no limitations. There are no places where that doesn't equally exist. And that our experience ebbs and flows not because the presence of Spirit ebbs and flows, but because we have habituated ourselves to thinking that God is in this condition, God is here, God is there, but not, God isn't over there, God isn't, God is in the fullness of our powers and the awakening abilities and the capacities outwardly, and God is in wealth, God is in romance, God is in all the outer things, but God is equally there in pain, old age, and death. God is equally there in the destruction of the dream, which is the rest of Christ's story. I mean, it starts so beautifully in the hush of winter, in that burgeoning, that gentle awakening that comes. But then the fullness of his life doesn't stop with the tenderness of his birth. That's where it begins, and then it flowers until it has so much power that even death can't take it away. Death can't touch it. And the worst things that could possibly happen, look at the rest of the story. And it has to be, in fact, the rest of the story for each one of us. Yogananda said that every one of us, we are all an expression of Spirit, and every one of us will live a story at some time that is greater than the greatest story that's ever been lived, greater than the story of Christ, greater than any of these stories. It's our destiny, it's who we are. And as we wake up, step by step, that becomes the expression of Spirit through us. And for every one of us, it'll be different. That's the fun and playful part of it. The question is, how long do you want to wait? Because it's not, one great saint said, the cause of suffering is never real. The cause of suffering is never real. It's all a delusion out there. All the ups and downs, the ins and outs, the youngs and olds, all of it. It's a delusion. It's fake. It's smoke and mirrors. But when we suffer in that delusion, when we suffer, when we buy in so much that we actually suffer, God himself suffers in us. So even though the cause of suffering is never real, the suffering itself is a genuine thing. And the only way out of suffering, the only way out of the limitations of this dream is to remember who we are behind the dream. Otherwise, all we're left with is the surface. Meditation, yoga, these things are the gift that we've been given in response, as Lorna said, a call of love went up from earth and you responded. A ray of your light flashed out from the heart of infinity, burst downward through night skies of consciousness, and was born on earth for the redemption of mankind in human form. Many times has that light descended, drawn to earth by the call of awakening love. Your chosen people have always been those of every race and nation throughout time, who with deep love chose thee. That's us. One of the things that plagues the devotee, because God would ask everything of us, anything we cling to, anything we hold on to as precious to us that is of creation, is the limitation on our freedom and on our reclaiming the power of Spirit. Nothing lasts. And everything we cling to causes the suffering that we endure. But if we're going to give up everything to have the experience of Spirit in everything throughout time and space, there's a space. There's something that happens in the middle. And it's why there are so few devotees. It's why there are so few sincere devotees. Because there's a space you stand between I had it in the world and it was all there and I was sure I was going to make it all work, and I am spirit, and there's a place where you're standing and you just don't have traction in either world enough to really fulfill. And you stand there and you have to choose, which way am I headed? Where's my loyalty? And it's scary as hell. And one of the really terrifying things is when you realize that the chances of finding liberation in this life and fulfillment of your spiritual path in this life, this little box of X number of years, is the project is so big it's probably not going to fit in this box. And then what happens is the question shows up, oh my God, what if I give up the world and I don't have that, and I don't yet have the awareness of my spiritual oneness, of samadhi, I'm not there yet, and I die? What in God's name happens then? What is, I've got nothing. And so the Bhagavad Gita responds. I'm going to read from this. And this will be the end of our service today, our talk today, because we got so much left to do. The concert is coming, and it's going to be the real inspiration for the day. And setting of the inspiration for the season. It's out at Laurelwood, please. I invite everybody to come. It's going to be remarkable. But the Bhagavad Gita is one of the most precious scriptures on the planet, because it talks to the things that are at the core of what a disciple and devotee have to work with if they're going to find their way through that process. And this is the question, what if I fail spiritually? And this is the divine answer. Arjuna is us, it's the devotee, talking to God, talking to the Guru, Krishna. And Arjuna says, what is the fate of him who strives with faith, but fails and loses heart or even falls from holiness, missing the perfect rule, like a rent cloud? Because that's what happens, if we get scared and then we run back to the security of this world. We reinvest our energy back where it doesn't work. And, or we stand there scared to death to move forward. So he's asking, what's the fate of us? Like a rent cloud that quickly vanishes? Is he not lost, abandoning the way? Remove, O Krishna, my uncertainties. None but thou canst banish my grave doubts. And Krishna answers, Arjuna, none who works for self-redemption will ever meet an evil destiny. Not here on earth, nor in the other world will he encounter sorrow and destruction. A fallen yogi, when he dies, attains the heavenly regions of the virtuous. Many of the years he dwells there joyfully, and when at last he must return to earth, his past true deeds will cause him to take birth in some pure, noble-minded family, happy in virtue and prosperity. Even it may be that he will take birth into the home of yogis, calm and wise, enlightened souls. But this kind of birth is all too rarely come by here on earth. Returning here, his good deeds of the past awaken in his heart the urge to seek his former path with ever greater zeal, determined more than ever now to reach the one true goal of life, eternal bliss. Past yoga practice, like an unseen tide, propels him forcefully upon his way. Even that man who deeply longs to know the subtle yoga path is more advanced than those who merely practice outward rites or follow scripture for their private gain. By diligently purging self of sin, an end achieved at last by all who strive, the yogi, countless rebirths ended, dwells forever in supreme beatitude. Greater the yogi is than they who quell their senses with ascetic discipline, greater than they who seek to plumb the depths of truth by reason and wise dispute, greater than they who seek by works alone to impress the Lord, who is himself those works. Be thou therefore a yogi, O Arjuna. He who absorbs his mind and soul in me unceasingly, established in my rest, know him to be among all yogis best. Let's take a moment of silence together.